I had the gain up a little bit. Maybe it was too high. I don't know. But we're back now. So, now that we're back, we're going to do something sort of like we did last week where we kind of ignore the chat for a minute. I will do my best to greet people as they come in. But I have some thoughts that I would like to share with you if you're so inclined to hear my thoughts. Let's raise this up a little bit. You got a lot of shoulder meat. We don't want all that daggum shoulder meat. There we go. That's good. All right, so let's start over with the tea. This evening we're having wild blackberry. I don't actually like it. As it turns out, blackberry to me does not make a very good tea, in my opinion. But I've had it for months sitting in my cabinet, and I just haven't wanted to drink it because it's not bad. It's just not a favorite. I have many more favorites. Turmeric, valerian, chai, green tea, just about any other tea I like better. So, but I have it, and it's just going to sit in there, so I'm drinking it. It's warm, it's tasty, and it's probably, Moringa tea drinker here, Brett says, that's right, that's good tea too. We have a lovely peach zinger with some ginger, lemon. There's all kinds of really delicious teas in there, and this one looks good. The box was really attractive, but as is often the case, you can't judge a tea by its box cover. So I thought I'd start out tonight with a bit of a funny story. As you guys know, we've put up netting around the garden, and we're trying to keep rabbits out of our food plot. And there have been some rabbits that have popped up here and there that we've actually seen, not just the evidence from them eating my plants. And so I have dispatched a few of these rabbits in the past. So last night I'm on the phone with my brother, chatting about I don't remember what. And I'm walking down. I like to walk and talk, so me sitting here not being animated is difficult. If I could talk to you guys and pace at the same time, I would, but everybody's probably getting nauseous. So, so I see this rabbit hop while I'm on the phone with him. I was like, man, I gotta go. I see this rabbit, and I'm gonna take him out before he eats my vegetable. So I run and get my 223, which is scoped very well, because I don't want to injure anything. So Jeremy says if rabbits come into your food plot, they become food. You got that right, buddy. And so I grabbed the 223 because, like I said, it is the most accurate of my firearms, easiest to put on target and to eliminate said target. Because while I was on the phone with my brother, I saw it hop into the woods. It hopped between like my scraper blade for the tractor and the trailer and a couple other things. So I didn't see it stop moving. I saw it hop, and then I walked around the corner and looked, and I saw it just sitting there like motionless. And I was moving my head around to see if it moved, and it didn't. It stayed there, was moving with the background. I'm like, God, I got this joker. I'm gonna pop that sucker. And I went and got it. I came out, scoped in, see the mound, pull the trigger. The mound goes poof. I thought, all right, got this rabbit. I go in there, and I ended up completely wasting a pile of pine needles. It was not, it wasn't a rabbit at all. It was just somehow the pine needles had fallen in like a little cone shape, and so when I looked in the woods and I saw a little brown shape, and I thought, there's my rabbit, and it was not. It was pine needles. So said Trixie Rabbit, Bugs Bunny still out there, laughing at my attempts to protect my food source. We did get, let's see, 30, 40, about 55 pounds worth of potatoes that we hope to plant in the next couple weeks. We have stuff sprouting in our greenhouse, which will be in a video coming up very shortly. The greenhouse is working marvelously. The water barrels that we put in have thermally regulated it quite well. So we don't have quite the swings we were having. It was going from like 5 degrees to 95 degrees, and now the lowest it's gotten is about 20 degrees and up to about 118. We've had some cold days. There's snow on the ground right now. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing that there's snow. It was 60 degrees out here yesterday, and I was running around in a t-shirt. So Rip says, hey everyone. Hello Rip, welcome. I hope you have your tea. What else has happened since we talked last? All the machinery is working. We have gotten everything working and fixed. So that's good. I made a tea out of a Sawzall blade. A key out of a Sawzall blade, but I ordered a couple spare ones just in case to put around the house. I ended up finding my original key that I lost. So it's all better. Is your Jeremy says is your 223 of the Armalite variety? I don't know what Armalite means. So it works really well. I think it's palmetto worms. I'm not sure. Rip says they're getting down to 23 tonight in South Mississippi. We've been covering plants and trees all day. Yeah, man, crazy weather. Super crazy. But that's all well and good. What I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit briefly, we're going to do kind of like we did the other day, where we're going to take maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and I'm going to share some thoughts I have with you. And hopefully some encouragement, and then we will get into other things. So I am going to, Paul says I would feed the prophet for 2 days only. Carolyn says hi. So in Kings, in First Kings, we're actually going to read it so I don't misquote it because I feel that's important. In First Kings, chapter 17, in verse 10, Elijah got up and went to Zarephath. And when he arrived at the city gate, there was a widow gathering wood. And Elijah called to her and said, "Please bring me a little water in a cup and let me drink." And as she went to get it, he called to her and said, "Please bring me a piece of bread in your hand." But she said, "As the Lord your God lives, I don't have anything baked, only a handful of flour in a jar and a bit of oil in a jug. Just now I'm gathering a couple sticks in order to go prepare it for myself and my son so we can eat it and die." And then Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go do as you have said. But first, make me a small loaf and bring it out to me. Afterward, you may make some for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord God of Israel says. The flour jar will not become empty, and the oil jug will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain to the surface." So she proceeded to do according to the word of Elijah. Now, I'm not going to tell you the flour jar is not going to run dry, or that we're going to have well or oil or any of those things. I know Elijah was famous in the land. I don't know if this woman had any experience with him in the past. It's not like today, where we have celebrities and whatnot. But people were known, so maybe she knew he was a prophet. Maybe she didn't. We don't really know. He said, "The Lord says to go do such and such," but there were definitely false prophets during that time, and people that claimed to be doing things of the Lord. I think she might have had an indication because she says, "The Lord your God," when she replies. But here's the part that really stuck out to me this week in particular. I don't know if you guys know, but like Ukraine and Russia provide something like a quarter of the world's wheat. So wheat is going to get real expensive. And of course, wheat, flour, bread, staples of life. And what she says, a handful of flour and a little bit of oil to make a cake. And I don't know why up until here recently, it never dawned on me that they were on starvation footing previous to this, right? It wasn't like, this is conjecture, but I would assume, and that's dangerous, so these are just my thoughts. If I was running out of food, right, and it hadn't been raining, there's famine in the land, you know bad things are going to happen, what do you do with the food you have left? Long before you actually run out. Do you keep eating 2,500 calories a day? No. I mean, I'm sure some of you have read books or seen movies about shipwrecks or people getting stranded or whatever, and what do? You start rationing, right? We're going to go to half rations for each man, 1 cup of water and 1 dry tack or whatever it is. Long before you run out of food. That's what you do. And I mean, I know when I'm trying to figure out how much food I need to store or how much I need to keep for my family, right? You're basing it off of not exactly a starvation diet, but you're thinking, how many calories a day do I need to survive? Is it 1,500, 1,600, 1,200? How many is it that you need to maintain where you're at? Not super delicious, not big meals. How much do you need to keep living? And that is kind of your baseline. Well, if that is your baseline and you've made that determination and you are starting to get, maybe you get to half your supplies. I don't know what the level is that you start cutting rations and you go, okay, we were at 1,500 calories. We better knock this back to like 1,200 calories. Okay, so that if we take it from 1,500 calories to 1,200 calories, we have 50 days left. Well, now we have whatever the math is, we have this many days left. Okay, cool. And so you're doing that, and that starts to run out. And you go, okay, well now we better drop it down to like 900 calories. Okay, 900 calories. We're gonna 900 calories. That's gonna take us from, we have 40 days left. That'll take us to 20 days. And then you eat half of that, and you're like, okay, we're gonna go from 900 calories. You get the point. This lady and her son had probably been starving for months, and cutting back and cutting back and cutting back and cutting back and cutting back. Joe says, hey Brian, not too late. Interesting topic. To the point, right, that everything that they could eat was gone. And I'm sure they were very, very skinny and very, very hungry. And this dude shows up and says, hey, give me some water. And she doesn't say, can't you see I'm starving? She doesn't say, I'm too busy. She doesn't, okay. She goes to get water. And while she's going, he says, I'll take some bread. She's like, we don't got it. There's a handful, right? A handful of flour and a splash of oil. Then we're gonna die. Like, that was it. That was it. And for my whole life, up until this week, I always had pictured them eating the way they were regularly eating, and all of a sudden they ran out, and now they're going to die. Not that they were probably gaunt and had been hungry for I don't even know how long. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning after having 3 full meals and everything else, and I'm hungry. Right? I can't imagine how long they were hungry. And here comes this dude who says, I'll take that. Go make some for yourself, but make some for me first, and God will provide. Well, he hadn't provided up until this point for them, and I'm not being facetious, right? They only had a handful left. So there was no rain. What's going on? And she did it. And obviously she was rewarded. Now, I'm not telling you, like I said, that you're not going to run out of food. I don't know. I don't know the future. I don't know that I'm not going to run out of food. I'm not telling you your oil will always be full. But here's the thought. When I was buying potatoes, we have done all these calculations to figure out how much we need to live. And then we added some more. Because we want to be able to give some to other people. So Hugh earlier stole all my thunder. Dadgummit, Hugh. But in Matthew, he's separating the sheep and the goat in his kingdom, right? And when the Son of Man comes into his glory, and the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious thrones, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, just as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, and inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me to drink. Here's the kicker. I was a stranger. Okay, this is important. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited. Then the righteous will answer and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or without clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brethren and sisters of mine, you did for me. So, that's my son's Bible. Here's the thought. When things start to go south, people tend to hoard. And I don't mean buying supplies and being prepared. I mean like hang on to it terrified to lose it. I have to feed my people. If 1 in 5 of us, I don't really know how many, 1 in 4 of us, 1 in 6 of us had the ability to make food, and we made food not just for ourselves, but for other people, even when the bad times came, even when they're strangers, right? Not even just family, but strangers. If I was down to my last handful of bread, and I've watched my children starving, watched my wife suffer, how quick am I going to be to share that handful of flour? I don't know. I don't know, guys. It's easy when it's in black and white on the page and it's history. And it's easy when we know it's Elijah. And then when he says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Here's what I do know, though. To be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord. So we should feed the stranger. We should be preparing for that. And I know you guys know this, and you are of the same mind. That's why you're here. But we're not just planting for ourselves. We're not just growing gardens for ourselves. And even if you're not growing enough even for you, does that mean you don't share it with somebody if they need it? I don't think so. I think we still share. And if we do it with the right heart, it can be like feeding the Lord himself. So be encouraged, even if you're down to your last handful of flour. You can still be a blessing to somebody. You don't have to have all the acreage. You don't have to have all the resources or the wealth or whatever. She was a widow woman, the poorest of their society. So, life is uncertain. And we think sometimes that we can be generous when we have a certain amount of something to be generous with. And that's far from the case. Whatever you have been blessed with, you are a steward of. Now we are to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. So don't go throwing all your resources all over the place. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying open a food bank if you can't feed your family. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is prayerfully consider what the Lord would have you do with what you have and be faithful with what you have. You don't need more to be faithful with what you have. You just need to be faithful with what you have. I think that's it. I'll probably think of something else while we're talking, but that's the general gist of it. Don't wait to be faithful. Be faithful now. Even if you don't have anything, you can encourage people verbally. You can encourage people with your words. You can exhort them. You can encourage them. You can spur them on. Doesn't even have to be food. I'm just using that example because, like I said, wheat prices are going to go up. They're going to go up fast. And our human nature is to lock the doors, guns out. I got's mine. Don't come near me. You should have prepared. What? I mean, she could have said all kinds of stuff to him, right? This dude comes out of the mountains, who knows dressed like what, and says, I want your food. I don't know, guys. I think somebody's doing laundry too.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate you. My lovely wife, Mrs. Flannel Farms, is currently making sure that I have clean uniforms for work tomorrow. She's a nice lady. I'm not sharing. It's mine. It is spring forward, which is rubbish. I'm back on duty tomorrow, so I'm not sure how long we're going to go this evening. But I felt it important to share with you some more encouragement. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to encourage you to be faithful in all times, when things are plentiful and when things are lean. So Brett says, sounded like a warning shot. They're at the door. We're not going to make it. Godspeed. Static. No, we're good. Although they know we're here. They know what we're talking about. But that's mostly what I wanted to say. I was talking to somebody last week about preparing things, and they were telling me how Like I needed to like bury my propane tank so nobody knew I had it. Don't tell anybody this, and don't tell anybody that, and don't do this, and don't do that, and hide this and hide that. There is some wisdom to discretion, right? When Hezekiah showed the visiting people all of his wealth and all of the things in the temple, I believe it was Isaiah walked up and said, "Hey, who was that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a visiting king. I showed him all my stuff." And he's like, "Yep, you did that arrogantly. All your stuff's going to be gone. Good job." And he's like, "Well, when will that happen?" He goes, "Well, not till after you're dead." And he went, "Oh, good. As long as it's not in my lifetime, I'm fine." What a jackwagon. I think of that guy a lot. So, I'm not saying be willy-nilly with what you have in that sense. Don't be foolish. But you gripping it tighter won't save it for you. It won't prevent it from happening. Moth, rust, thief. It's gonna happen. Everything degrades. So that was kind of my thought. Hopefully I was able to encourage some of you. These are the things that roll through my head when I'm running a chainsaw or sitting on a tractor with the headphones on, blocking out all the sound. And I'm just rolling through things in my head. So but I'm going to pick up the chat now because you guys have been curiously typing away, and if I don't read them out loud, Leah can't see it. Leah, you're supposed to be doing chicken. Why are you typing? Just teasing. Leah said she's canning chicken tonight to share with me when I'm starving. So, here we go. All right. Paul says I would feed the prophet for 2 days only. Betty says, "Evening all, hope all's well. I have powdered my moringa to use. How do you make tea with it? Fresh leaves, dried?" She's asking me. Oh, hey, thanks. Brett's taking care of all the Russian spammers. Jeremy says the AR comes in the name of the original maker. Ah, okay, cool. Bobert says, "Hands are covered in dirt. I'm planting a bag of apple seeds, probably 50 sprouts, all in a tiny pot." How cool is that? Paul says, "Look up Didig PDF." Make a quick copy of that. I will look that up. I will do my best to look that up. I don't want to make promises I can't keep. Copy the note. There we go. Brett says, "I dehydrate the leaves and grind them down by hand, put them straight in a coffee filter in the coffee maker. If I don't drink it hot, what's left goes in the fridge for cold tea." Cool. So, Rip says, "What a convenient coincidence that Ukrainian supplies the world with that much wheat. I wonder if the folks at the WEF knew that." Weird. So, Betty says, "I have encouraged others to garden, to save, to put up, but if it falls on deaf ears, we've had too much for too long." Agreed, Betty. And we've talked about that, right? Being the watchman on the wall. You can you can proclaim the danger till you're blue in the face. If people don't heed, they don't heed. At some point, the door to the ark does close. I don't know when that is. But I know when times get tough, we can hoard. And so, yeah, that's all. Carolyn says, "Just like tithing, God will provide." That's right. Leah says, "I'm trying to prepare what I can, including my mind. I'm learning all that I can do, that when others do want to learn, I can teach them." That's right. Jeremy says, "Here's an idea I struggle with. Say very hard times come and I'm growing food. If I hear noises outside and I find a stranger in my coop stealing chickens, do I do anything to defend?" That is a good question. And the short answer is I don't know. I don't know. Now, what I do know, and my initial instinct is to say yes, and I'll tell you why. Elijah didn't kick down her door and take her flour, right? He showed up and said, "I'm hungry. Please feed me." That's different. That's different. And he was a stranger to her, not a thief. So I think that's different. So yes, I would protect your resources in that sense. I wouldn't protect them if somebody showed up at your door and knocked and says, "I'm starving, can you help me?" And you go, "Yes, here's what I can help you with." Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm good with that answer. um, Betty says, good not to broadcast, but also we cannot live in fear. God says not to fear 365 times, one for each day of the year. Leah says, chicken is picked, bones are in the crock pot, and I washed my hands. Wow, you're fast. She says, sorry for the gibberish. My fingers were sticky when when I made my preparing comment. Yeah, it's... And the people you're supposed to look out for first is your family. And then you're supposed to look out for the fellow believer, and then you look out for the rest of the world as possible. Do good to those who believe, especially the brethren, and then as much as is possible to everybody else. So, we don't want suffering, right? We don't like things to hurt. I don't like things to hurt. I like comfort. I like air conditioning. I had a really good talk, and I think you guys are going to love it, with Betty says, so we should also have some composting holes already dug. I'm just saying that's what you do with your enemies, bad guy. I had a great talk yesterday with Danny. Yesterday? 2 days ago. No, yesterday. With Danny from Deep South Homestead. Me and him talked for quite a while. I think we have about 50 minutes of it for you guys. It should be up Monday night. We're going to have a live premiere, and he's going to join us. Potentially him and Wendy, or just Wendy, or just him. I'm not really sure. But he marked it on his calendar. And he was telling me basically how, because I asked him, I love asking homesteaders, and he also informed me that we're not homesteaders. The Homestead Act went out in like 1985 or the 70s or something, and so I guess technically we're into food preparedness because you can't be a homesteader because they changed the laws. But anyways, he said sometimes they will like flip the breaker on their house for a month just to run like the whole breaker. Wanda, yes, I'm sorry. And thank you, Carolyn. I'm rather tired. Sorry, a lot going on. But they will flip a breaker in the summer, like for a month, and in the winter for a month, to see what they need, right? So if everything goes down, how prepared are they? I thought that was super cool, and I hope I get to that point at some point. I would love to be able to just flip the breaker and see what happens. So, but yeah, super wise guy. I don't mean that like, hey, he's a wise guy. Yeah. I really felt like I could have talked to him for a day or two, and not run out of stuff to say, or ask, or learn about. Very, very smart guy. So I'm hoping you guys will be encouraged by that. Like I said, Monday night. Oh, what else? Hopefully we have another video coming out tomorrow. And there should be one out on Wednesday. Our channel is currently sitting at 1,776 subscribers. So, America. I thought it was pretty cool. I should take a screenshot of it. But yeah, we're in channel news. We're up like 200 subscribers in the past month. So if you're one of our new subscribers watching this afterwards, welcome. If you're one of them watching it now, welcome. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We hope you find value and encouragement in what we're doing here. That is really, really why we started the channel, was to try and encourage people. I don't want to say to do the right thing, but to just try things. Just try. Whether it's to follow Christ more, or to try and build things more, or to grow your own food more, or whatever. Just don't let fear take over. We don't have nearly as much control over things as we think we do. And in some ways that can be very freeing if we can get our hearts and minds around that we're not in charge. We're not in charge. Um, oh, back up to comments. I need to get some like spectacles so I can see. Leah says, "Oh, that's awesome. You got to talk to Danny. By the way, for my fellow carrot growing challenge fam, Danny has a book on Etsy for growing carrots. I ordered it and got it yesterday. Leah, we talked about carrots actually for quite a while because I told him we had a carrot support group for people who couldn't grow carrots, and he was like, it's not that big a deal. I don't understand why this is so hard. Wait till you guys find out one of the reasons they started their YouTube channel. I don't know if you've heard it before. I don't know if he's ever mentioned it before. It's hilarious. You guys will love it. Marilyn says, yeah, I want to flip the switch. It's a good idea. I'm going to try that and save some money. He said, Paul says only vegetal compost is useful. Now, if you see my brother David the Goods channel, he's got a whole thing about composting a pork chop. Just throwing that out there. Carolyn says, make sure your wife has a way to do laundry when you turn off the breaker. Betty says, years ago I saw a man hook up his bike to run a washer. Danny and Wanda are building an off-grid cabin, and they are working on, basically he said it wouldn't be much of a hiccup for him to do it. So we do have our little cabin in the back that is, it's sort of, let me put it this way, it could be off-grid. It currently has a composting toilet in it. I don't know if it works or not. It is hooked up to the house with electric, and the water runs to it, but it has nowhere for the water to go. So like the dishwater just like runs out the back, and the shower in it is not in very good shape. So we've talked about potentially, it does have a wood burning stove in it, and it's very small, so it would be easy to warm, heat and whatnot. So we're talking about maybe rehabbing it into an off-grid type cabin. Still having it hooked up to our well, and I currently, I did end up getting propane and a generator so that I can run my well. Adam, hello. He says, hello, Flannel fam. Late but here. Welcome. It's good to see you. So I do have a backup to the grid currently. Obviously, I can't buy and store enough propane to run forever. So that would be a temporary thing. Eventually, I'd like to put up rain catchment systems and some things like that. And potentially a way to brew so that if water is sketchy, you can do it old school style and make a weak mead or whatever. I know very little about that stuff, so it's just let me liken what we're doing on the property to this. Recently, the African nation energy people, I forget what their title is, got together and said, would you stop bashing oil? Because like 90% of our people don't even have enough energy for basic survival or access. And now you're pushing this green technology that doesn't work well enough yet at a cost-effective enough rate yet to take oil over. And we're just trying, let us at least get the energy we need first. Once our people are not starving and have basic energy needs met, then we can work on switching over to the green sources. And I realize that's basically what I'm doing here. With like, Premier One fencing and, using the tractor and the plow and the disc and some of those things. Right now, I'm just trying to meet the needs of my family and some friends as quickly and as efficiently as possible. When I have some of those systems in place, I can take a step back and go, okay, cool. Maybe I can put up some wind power. Maybe I can start work on like preserving food without electricity or refrigeration. Maybe I can work on, oh no. Carolyn says, man, I just got notified Deep South Homestead is about to go live, and several others that I subscribe to are live as well. She's staying here. Well, thank you, Carolyn. We can wrap it up so people can go over there. I wanted to make sure I talked to you guys tonight. Normally, the past 2 weeks we've done it on Monday. But I like to try and do it on a weekend. I feel like it gives us more time, more availability. But the past couple nights, past couple Saturdays, we have released our interviews on Saturday, and Sundays I've been at work. Next Sunday I won't be at work, so we can switch it to Sunday night. That way I don't interfere with other people's live streams. Certainly don't want to compete. There's really no competition. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but eventually I want to do those things. I want to have a root cellar. I would love to have some solar panels in addition to, but right now I feel almost like, a third world country or a second world country trying to get things going. Oh, I got the coolest book. Speaking of, Paul says, make Shine to run a generator. I found a hydrogen making manual. It is a wood gasifier. And essentially, you can take charcoal and split hydrogen out of water and run a generator with it, or a gasoline motor. This thing looks super, super cool. And the guy who built it, there's two books for it. One is like the Bible of making it, and then the other one is how to modify your engine as needed to run off of it. And apparently in like World War II, there was like something like 1,000 different military installations ran off of this system. And we just like stopped using it. And apparently it fueled part of the Industrial Revolution, and I never heard of such a thing. And yeah, Betty, that's right. Betty says you have two plans: one for now, make for your fam, and one for the future. That's the hope. That's the prayer. But you can make this thing out of like propane tanks and some stock, like steel and some basic welding stuff. I don't know how to weld, but my neighbor down the street, who we met 2 weeks ago, he just stopped by and was like, "Hey, what's up? I'm so-and-so. I'm your neighbor." And it was like, cool. He is a certified welder. He knows all this stuff. Well, I have a old, like, he said it was like a duck boat. I don't know. It's not exactly flat bottom. It reminds me of a john boat, but it's made of wood, so it's not really. Or maybe it's an old john boat. I don't know. He was super interested in this boat, and so I might trade with him. Funny and friendly. Hey, flannel family. Hello. Good to see you. Welcome. So I think I'm going to try and build this system and make my own, essentially, hydrogen. Yeah, Jeremy says wood gasification is cool, so I run a lawnmower off of a gasification system. And you can literally turn wood and water into hydrogen. Like, basically an unlimited amount. It still takes a 12-volt battery to run the system, so that is kind of like, eh. But if you have a solar panel that you can charge batteries off of, then you can run the gasification system. So, yep, it's yeah, there's more energy in the CO. It's just being able to harvest it. So that's the thing. Peaceful Acres Farm, little bunny foo-foo. Hello, good to see you. So yeah, I have this book, and at some point I would like to sit down and purchase all the materials and, all this stuff and start fooling with it. But I have so many things to do first, and I want to be able to like rotate my animals around, so I have land to clear, and I have paddocks to build, and we have wire to run. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to happen first. So I would there's plans. There are big plans for the future on some of those type things, as we can afford it, if we can afford it. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? But there's another verse in Matthew, I think it's Matthew 26, that says, "Don't worry about tomorrow, for today is evil enough." So we could all be staring at the future panicking, or we could just deal with today. And for today, at least, I have electric, I have my refrigerator, I have my air conditioner, I have my nice warm bed, and I have and technology so that I can talk to all you fine folks who I didn't even know existed a year ago, and be encouraged by you. I really look forward to these hours that we spend talking back and forth. And in some ways, it's almost like a church service, and I'll qualify that because when you go to church, it should be getting out of the world and all the pressures of the world and being around like-minded people. So when I talk to you guys, it's almost like I'm able to kind of step away, step back, and just have a few minutes with some people, even if we don't think exactly the same or 100% agree or any of those things, but who don't have wool over their eyes, right? And who are attempting to do the best they can where they're at with what they have. And I really appreciate that, and it's very encouraging to me to know you guys are out there and doing your part where you're at. Because if and when it all falls apart. Oh, this is another thing. Can we talk about what falling apart means? Let's talk about that real briefly before we get demonetized and canceled. I think most of us understand that the ideals about our country that we were raised with are not the ideals that a lot of people hold dear. The system that allowed for self-determination, I guess is what I should say, doesn't really exist, right? The forces at work in our country don't want you to be able to determine your own path, whichever path that might be. We're all supposed to conform, march in line, agree with the narrative, whatever you want to call it. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. I just don't know what to say when you guys do that, so just thank you. And I let me give you a brief life example. I remember voting for George Bush in 2000 and thinking that he was a conservative. And not so much. Not so much. And when he said that we have to suspend the free market to save it, I think that was when the wool fell off. Because I used to be, when we were young and naive, right, your side was right and the other side was wrong, and whatever your side said was pretty much true, and whatever. And at some point you realize that's not true. And the older I get, right, the more I realize it's not true. The less and less truth there is. So the ability to self-determine, I mean, even the Homesteading Act, right, where you used to be able to go out and put 4 rocks out, and if you stayed there long enough and did a certain amount of things, you were able to keep that land if you homesteaded it, right? We don't have that option anymore. Far from it, in fact. Land is prohibitively expensive to just grow your own food. Laws are prohibitively expensive to keep you from growing your own food. So anyways, all that to say, that system doesn't exist. Land of the free, home of the brave, they're still brave people. And we're more free than a lot of other places. I'm not anti-America. Please don't think that. But what I'm saying is the mindset has to shift. Okay, we are less and less free, and we're getting less and less free in earthly terms. So what do? We go to ground, and I mean, Isaac Asimov's foundation in some ways, right? The empire is collapsing. We still have electricity, right? We still have our little we jokingly called cell phones our brains on the outside, right? We, but we're trying in some ways to shorten the darkness. That's what we're trying to do. It's coming down. In some ways, it's already collapsed. We still have food currently. We still have cheap energy currently. And I think in a lot of ways, we think the apocalypse, is like I Am Legend and zombies and whatever. There is no food at all and everybody's starving and those kind of things. And that might still happen. It's happened before. And it can very easily happen again. I think we're realizing how easy it can happen again. Hasn't happened yet. But in many ways, it's already collapsed. It's already over. We may have lost this round. The war's not over. So we are raising the next generation of warriors. We are disengaging, right? We are disengaging from their system. I think that's why this trend, if you will, of homesteading and the as Billy said, get loose and get lost, right? That mindset of we just don't even participate in what you're doing anymore. We just want to be free. We just want to be out, is growing. I think there's a lot of us like that who want to preserve and just live our lives. Be good neighbors, good family, good friends. Yeah, something like that. This tea's really not that good. The bitter dregs of society have made my tea cold and bitter. We will fight them on the oceans. We will fight them on the beaches. Wait, that's different. That was a different speech. Oh my goodness. Let's scroll up around just to make sure I don't miss anything. Jeremy says my body is a gasification system. Acre says I smash every flannel vid before I even watch it now. Like Hulk smash. Thank you. And smash means thumbs up. I appreciate it. Carolyn says we should all rebel. I think we are in some ways. We just don't participate. Yeah, Alfred says, I love the people and I love the land. Amen to that. That is right. Jeremy says, wondering which accent is your native accent now. The Yori accent or the Brian accent? Well, who knows what you have to have for maybe Russian misinformation. Sandra says, my husband is looking into gasification. I think it's really cool. I don't think everything is a temporary fix. Trying to make sure my computer don't fall down. Even if I build a gasification system, right? Sooner or later the battery's going to wear out. Sooner or later the electric wears out. Sooner or later everything wears out. The only true way to do it is to do it without anything, without any electricity, without any fuel, gas, diesel, liquid petroleum, liquid propane, natural gas, whatever. The only way to really be safe is to do it that way. And even tools rust and wood breaks. We have a wheel hoe, a super cool old wheel hoe, and one of the handles is rotted off. So I was like, no big deal. I'll look into getting new handles for it. New handles are like $90, $100, and I thought, well, how much is a new one? $270. So I might go out and find a tree and whittle it myself. Yeah, Sanders says my tractor is diesel anyway, so gasification wouldn't help that. No, you'd have to convert it to a spark system. From what I've read, I'm not an expert. I've just been looking at it, and it's significantly less efficient than gasoline because of the BTUs of energy per, however much of whatever. So, even like, so Lucy, our tractor, is a 4-cylinder. I think new made like 26 or 25 horsepower. And I think I would be down to like 18 horsepower with that. And it already stalls when I'm trying to use a 2-bottom plow, which it's supposed to be able to pull new from the factory. So who knows? Yeah. I I know I've mentioned this before, but I think a lot about the Romans. Um, and, you know, when they were in England, the Isle of Britain, they had in-floor heating. The Romans had in-floor heating. Or below floor, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they had set their stuff up a certain way and built fires under it so they could walk around with warm tootsies, you know, in what, 800 AD? And then when they were like, this is too much, and they pulled out, you know, people on the island were basically back to, you know, mud huts for 800, 1,000 years. So, yeah. But they still lived. And that's the thing. They still figured it out. Some starved to death, obviously. There was disease and pestilence and things like that. But we have gotten really, really soft with how many creature comforts we have and how many people don't die. I mean, just 150 years ago, if you went to look at a cemetery that's a little older, you know, like 5 out of 6 headstones are children. Very little children. I mean, the mortality rate 100 years ago, I think, was something like 30% or something crazy. So we are very blessed to live in the times that we live in and to have had the luxuries we've had. We just can't rely on them. There's only one thing that's worth relying on, and that's not earthly. Jeremy says you can gasify wood without the water hydrogen part. It's all about heating the wood to the point where it releases flammable gases without actually catching fire. Oxygen deprivation is the key. Yep. Syngas is easy to make. Making it clean enough to run an engine is difficult. Yeah, didn't know that. Carolyn says bad nutrition back then compared to now. But you're right. There was a lack of variety, lack of vitamins. There's a bunch of reasons for that. But I think our nutrition these days is terrible. Everything is supplements. We've yeah. What we're eating isn't food. And that's another reason why we're doing this. And you guys know that, is to, you know, quality control of your own food. It's expensive to make your own food, but it's totally worth it. Well, if you like doing it. Which we do. We love it. So, yeah. Anyhow, I guess let me give you the week coming up. The week in review. I am on duty tomorrow. It's spring forward, so if you haven't had your automatic device already change your times for you, don't forget to do that. I am on duty tomorrow, but I'm hoping to get some videos edited and up for you. I'm hoping to release one tomorrow. We should have the interview being released at 8 p.m. on Monday night. We have, so I'm on duty this week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. We do have some stump grinding jobs to do. And I'm putting in some pavers for a friend of mine. She's a very sweet lady. So I'll have that going on. So not a whole lot happening here on the homestead per se. This past week was an incredibly busy week. I filmed a bunch of stuff, so that will be coming out. So you'll get good content. Don't throw tomatoes. And we hope to start planting our seed potatoes and some other crops here pretty soon. That's always a good time. And yeah, growing as we grow. Learning a lot, learning a whole lot. So appreciate your guys' comments and your encouragement, especially after the last video where everything broke. It was very, very, well, encouraging is the word. It was good to come back and read either people going through something similar or just having a bad day or whatever. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So Romans were good engineers, Carolyn says. That's right. Jeremy says, so how impactful will the fertilizer shortage be? That's going to be massive in cost. That's going to be a big, big deal. We don't use chemical fertilizer currently. We haven't had to. But I also have only done a few test things. You know, we did the turnips. Those grew really, really well. No, I didn't get the rabbit. The rabbit got away. I did end up putting a massive hole in some pine straw. Peaceful Acres Farm asked if we got the rabbit. The wascally rabbit got away. And the wheat, the winter wheat and the spring peas that we grew very well. So there's nutrients in the soil. But when it comes to commercial ag, that fertilizer shortage is going to be a nightmare. It's just going to make things more expensive again. Depending on what the forces in charge do, these are also times that provide opportunity, right? Necessity is the mother of invention. So it is possible some very good things come out of this. So, who knows? Jeremy says, have you made your first ad revenue dollar yet? Sort of. So apparently the way it works with YouTube is you have to hit a minimum payment threshold. Once you hit that minimum payment threshold, you are eligible to get paid. Then you have to fill out a whole bunch more information, but they actually mail you something to verify that you are the person saying all this stuff and that it matches, you know, your government issued identification card and all that stuff. So I am currently waiting. We have passed the threshold thanks to you guys. And I'm waiting for that thing to arrive in the mail, which can take 3 to 6 weeks. And there's no way to expedite it. I couldn't have done it any sooner. They basically let you know at each stage of the game what you can do and when you can do it. So once the pin arrives and we put that in, I think then they will set up the payment method with me. It's convoluted, but that's what it is. Peaceful Acres Farm says, hold everything with an open hand. That's right. That's what we're doing. It's not ours anyways. We're stewards. And once the stewardship really kicks in, that mindset really kicks in, it's a game changer, guys. It really is. Is that phrase overused? The paradigm shift makes things easier to deal with? I don't know. Carolyn says, you're doing great for being in your first year at your place. We are trying really hard to do the right thing. Jeremy asked if the super chat money was tied up that way. It is. Speaking of super chat money, somebody sent us $20. It was a Pat. It wasn't Pat Dunbar. It was another Pat. I forget which one. Thank you. It went to a different. Somehow it went to our old PayPal instead of the one I have for the channel currently, which we do have PayPal on our about page. If you go to the about page and you want to do something that way, you can do it that way. Karen also, one of our longest subscribers and most loyal people, also sent us a donation that way, and so thank you, Karen. We do have a wish list on our homepage. We're trying to get some better headphones and a better memory card so I could record some longer things. We currently have the battery. We do have a new stand, so we are plugging right along. So, but yes, Jeremy, the super chat money is tied up that way too. So that does end up doing that. Leah says, did you and Danny talk about Jaden gardening? I'm hoping big egg farmers look into that and get out of the contracts they are in. We didn't not talk about that. There was a lot. I think we covered a lot, but we only had an hour, give or take. So we tried to be brief, Brian, a little bit. And he and I ended up talking afterwards for a while. Off camera, as it were. Super cool dude. I'm trying to get, well, I've asked him to forward my information to Living Traditions Homestead. I love what they got going on over there. Totally dig the mindset. And I've asked Billy to talk to Jason from Sow the Land for me. So if you guys are subscribers to either one of those channels, would you please let them know that we're interested in having a talk with them? I'm going to wait for my interview with Danny to come out, and then I'm going to make a concerted effort to talk to those guys. If not, I have a couple other options that we can talk to. I'm loving these interviews. Just drinking in the knowledge and wisdom from these people is amazing. So anyhow, my friends, it is a bit later than normal. I do appreciate you spending your evening with me. Carolyn says we need to tip you more so you can start getting your money. It's coming. That pin, like I said, we're waiting on the pin to arrive. And once the pin arrives, every time we hit a certain threshold, they'll just meter it out to us. So, but yes. So anyways, thank you for letting me know about the audio feedback, because everything sounded fine on my end. And half the time that's the way it goes. We don't even realize our own flaws. Take heart. Take courage. Don't fear tomorrow. Pray without ceasing. And whatever things are good, noble, true, holy, pure, think about those things. The world's going to go to heck in a handbasket. We all know it. So we just won't participate. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you enjoy what we have coming out. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Grow as you grow. We'll see you next time. Bye.